Courageous, the organizers, thanks for inviting me. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Just to continue on the same men, what is it? Men are challenged? Challenges of men. So I hope after my presentation you'll see why I wish in Cana he had made orange juice instead of wine. Ms. Pisa, I would just like to say that sometimes the women take the money to buy the Remy here, not recognizing the seriousness of what Dr. Alexis just said. It could be very traumatizing for someone to lose their hair, to cancer, to anything. Sometimes you take medication, causes you to lose your hair. Sometimes natural aging too. Dr. Lord, and I hope I'm not going to offend anybody, I apologize before. Sometimes the PE could be helped with a dose of foreplay. Well, I was thinking it, so I thought I better share it. What really is an addiction? An addiction has long been understood to mean uncontrollable habit of using alcohol or other drugs. In another phrase, substance abuse. Because of the physical effects of these substances on the body, and particularly on the brain, people have always thought that real addictions only happen when people regularly use these substances in large amounts. More recently, we have come to realize that people can also develop addictions to behaviors such as gambling, and even quite ordinary and necessary activities such as exercise, eating, and sex. Well, somebody asked me in preparing this, so we have sex therapists in Barbados? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't know if the doctors know. So that's what we are dealing with in terms of an addiction, something that you cannot control. Control being the operating word here. What is peer pressure? Peers are people who are part of the same social group. So the term peer pressure refers to the influence that peers can have on each other. Although peer pressure does not necessarily have to be negative, the term pressure implies that the process entails some kind of influence from other people to do things that you are normally resistant to or might otherwise choose not to do. Parents often worry about peer pressure, particularly in relation to potential addictive activities such as alcohol and drug use, and of course premature sexual behavior. An old study, a rapid assessment survey in 2000, and to the researchers here, you know 10 years is old for any study, but I chose it specifically, showed that young people in Barbados are lighting their first marijuana joint in their early teens, and early to mean just on turning 13. That marijuana is the most popular drug among young people because it is easily obtainable here in Barbados. Included in this research was results from another 5-year study that showed 74% of young Barbadians smoked marijuana as a means of coping with stress. And that alcohol is the next drug of choice among young Barbadians, and they hit the bottle from as early as 14 years old. And I chose that old study to say that another study done in 2010 across 12 Caribbean countries, of which Barbados was included, showed that not only have those figures remained stable, but it has gotten worse because they are starting the marijuana and alcohol use a little younger now. I think Father Paul did a study here that finds that 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds are actually drinking and smoking cigarettes, and subsequently somebody found they are actually using the marijuana. This new study in 2010 as it relates to Barbados, found that in Barbados, teenage boys, and maybe that is where the PE coming from, we're starting from there, that teenage boys continue to drink more than teenage girls. That 40% of our young Barbadian drinkers were in fact binge drinkers. And if I were to define binge drinking, incessantly drinking over 2 or 3 days and not wanting to stop. And then stopping and say, I can stop anytime I want. And that 35% of young people across the region do these things because they are encouraged by their peers to do it. And 35% is a high, high number. And that Barbados ranks 7 in alcohol use across the region among young people, but in younger age groups, 11 to 13, rank 2nd in marijuana use. Ladies and gentlemen, I will read a short excerpt from an interview for you to close. I was hard on drugs. Aside from the time I was about 10 years old, I started with the cigarette, and I even sniffed glue and some liquid paper. They good, you hear? They put me on a spiritual and positive high. Drugs ain't bad for you, don't mind what they tell you. Nothing is stopping me from doing drugs. If you want to do bad things, then you will. And it ain't the drugs that will make you do these bad things, you know. This teenager has already been counseled by the school guidance counselor, a drug rehabilitation program. He has been through a drug rehabilitation program. He's been kicked out of home and taken back in, and nothing has stemmed the habit. This is the view of one of the many teenagers in Barbados who are getting involved in drugs from an early age. Thank you.